Welcome to day 2 as we continue our superheroes and stereotypes project. Yesterday we got into kind of the history of comic books and graphic novels and how they've adapted and changed over time. So today we're going to dig a little bit deeper and we're going to begin our reading for Miss Marvel, but we have lots of things to do before then too. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is you're going to click here in this presentation so that I can get a sense of what kind of reader you are. What are the things you like to read? What are the things you don't like about reading? What are some predictions you might make? So on this Google form, you only have to pick 3 questions to answer. So choose which ones you feel are best fitting and you have an answer to, and we'll get today going. All right, here we go. Remember that our first piece of text that we're going to be reading this year is Miss Marvel, the comic book. So what's really exciting about Miss Marvel is that it is a comic book, like a legitimate comic book. I'm definitely not tricking you. Sorry, my computer is not exactly where I want it to be. So before you ever read some text, especially in a reading class, you want to make sure that you have some background knowledge so that you're able to connect with the text fully and understand where the author's coming from. So let's go ahead and dive in so we can learn a little bit more before we start to explore. So who is Miss Marvel? Miss Marvel is Kamala Khan. That is her the character's name in the text. She's a Pakistani American teenager from New Jersey. She gains the ability in this text to shapeshift. She has shape-shifting powers from mysterious alien mist. So Kamala loves superheroes and she is obsessed with the Avengers and Captain America. So we get to see a little bit into her daily life and what she thinks about superheroes. What's significant about Miss Marvel? Miss Marvel is part of a movement. Remember we talked yesterday about how there are more complex issues that's being discussed about in comic books today. So readers of all backgrounds are able to see themselves in comic books now. So Miss Marvel is a part of that conversation and movement to be able to see a more diverse generation of readers, appeal to a more diverse generation of readers. Miss Marvel was created by the author G. Willow Wilson and Adrian Alfano in 2013. Miss Marvel first appeared in an issue of Captain America, number 14, if you're a comic book reader. And Miss Marvel represents an intersection of identities that have not been seen in mainstream comics until Miss Marvel. So a couple of different things. She's female, she's Muslim, and of Pakistani descent. So we're going to be able to dig in deep to some cultures and some terminology that we're not familiar with. So that's really awesome to get the opportunity to do that. G. Willow Wilson is the author. Her first name is actually Gwendolyn, and she's from the United States. She's from New Jersey. She was raised atheist, so she didn't have a religion until she converted to Islam in her 20s. She studied history at Boston University, and she's lived in a couple of different places, including Cairo in Egypt. Her first graphic novel is actually called Cairo, so you can check that out if you're interested in these graphic novels. She's won so many awards for writing, such as the Hugo Award and the Best Graphic for this comic book, as well as a bunch of others. So definitely check out her other works too. About the illustrator, Adrian Alfano is originally from Canada. He's well known for creating Marvel's Runaways. And he also did some work with Spider-Man, so he's really well known too. So that's just a little bit of information and background about the text. We don't want to go too far into it because we're about to read it, but we do have a little bit of context about what kind of character Kamala might be. We know she's Pakistani American, so we need to know that there's going to be some differences between our culture and the way that she's probably being raised. So let's definitely keep an open mind as we start to read this comic. What I'm going to have you do is for the next 15 minutes, you're going to get to study 15 different vocabulary words on Quizlet. What you have to do in this 15 minutes is study those flashcards, at least go through them twice, do that gravity or matching game, and then take the test, and your goal is to try to get an 80% or above. If you can get that 80%, you may or may not be entered in to win a prize. So that 15 minutes is going to begin now. Go ahead and get started, and then we have a couple of other things that we're going to do today, so stay tuned. All right, everybody, welcome back. Before we begin to read, we have to set up our workspace, so let's get prepared. Number one is you're going to have some homework this evening where you are going to finish the first part of Captain Marvel. Not Captain Marvel, of Miss Marvel. So know that you need to know where this link is going to be outside of this presentation. So if you want to find it, it is going to be on my stream in the Reading Google Classroom. And I have a picture of where that is. It's right here up at the top, so you can check that out. For the time being right now, you can click into this presentation and go to this link right here. I'm going to double check and make sure that link's correct. But you have two different ways that you can view that text. So if this link isn't working and you're watching this video, make sure you go over to Google Classroom so that you're able to pull it up. I will give you a warning that in the PDF for online, for some reason, it's every 2 pages is blacked out. So your homework later is going to say some ridiculous page number, but don't stress. It's literally like every 2 or 3 pages is blacked out and then shows you the page. The other thing that you're going to need to open is your reading journal. So the way you're going to do this is you're going to go to your year view. You're going to open up your superheroes project, and in checkpoint 1 is going to be your reading journal. Okay, there's several different questions that we're going to look at, and we're going to kind of read and look at those questions in just a second together. So go ahead, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. Go ahead and get your space set up so that we can be successful, and I'll see you in just a second. All right, your computer should look just like mine, except you're going to have my face also on the side somewhere, have my voice looming over. Ideally, you would also want to be able to see this video. So you can, if you want to, put me on the left-hand side over Miss Marvel, because I'm going to share my text with you temporarily. But keep that window up as you'll need it in the future. What you're going to notice is on our journal side is whenever we're reading or whenever we have questions that are going to go with what we're reading and our comprehension, we need to make sure that we read them first so that we're prepared and we're looking for specific things in the back of our mind. I think that's always a really good strategy to have, especially as we start to prepare for things like the ACT. So keep that in the back of your head that that's always a good testing strategy and reading strategy. So we're going to take a look at what this journal is going to be asking us before we dive into the text. Here you can see that it is divided up into parts. So we do not need to go down to part 2 as we are only doing the questions for part 1. So that is going to be these 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes all the way down. The coral, yellow, orange, and green. So the first thing it's asking us is what's the different things that are happening? What's the setting? How much time has passed? Was there a conflict? What new information did you learn? So you're going to answer that in the 3rd column. And we are 8th graders, so we are going to write in complete sentences with proper punctuation and capitalization. In the second part, who was in these pages? Who are the characters that you start to see appear? What did they do? What did they say? What were their motives? Whose perspective is in this section from, and how do you know? So when you start to look at that, we obviously don't want to name every single character, but you want to name the characters that have the biggest parts and dive into what are their actions, what are they saying, what are they doing. To talk about the structure, we're looking at what did the decisions did the author make about the dialogue. So what are some intentional things you start to see that connect with the background that we talked about earlier? What decisions did the artist make about the page layout? And how many panels were on a page roughly? Who or what scenes were the biggest panels, and why do you think that they were the biggest panels or the smallest panels? And lastly, I want to know what you think. What are your thoughts and reactions? So what did you think happened in this part? This whole front part that we just read. Did you connect to any of the characters? Why or why not? And who was it? Where do you see what happened in the text in real life? Where do you see what happened in the text in real life? I just repeated myself. Did any characters struggle with their sense of belonging? In what ways did they struggle with that? Do you have any questions about what happened so I can help you? All right, so now that we kind of know the different things that we're looking out for, let's go ahead and dive into the text. Now your homework tonight, and this is Friday, so for the weekend, is that you're gonna read to page 80 on this PDF. I know, don't freak out. It's really just page 20, but again, we have those blacked out pages, so you're gonna have to do some scrolly rolly is what I like to call it. So let's go over here and look at the text, and I'm gonna read a couple of pages to you so we can see the flow. Some people are more familiar and experienced with reading comics while others aren't. So let's go ahead and take a look. So this is Miss Marvel. Again, you're gonna have to do some scrolling. So this indicates that it's part 1. So we're gonna read until we see that part 2, which is on page 80. And just so you know, on this PDF, if you kind of take your mouse and scroll it to the top, it's gonna tell you which page number. So it says 450 pages, but it's not that long at all. Remember, this is just because it's scanned and it has a weird setup. So let's go ahead and look. I just wanna smell it. I'm going to start charging you for smells. Delicious, delicious infidel meat. Seriously, Kamala, I don't understand why you do this to yourself. Either eat the bacon or stick to your principles. Chow or chow not. There is no smell. Thanks, Yoda. There's bacon. I've had it. It's not that terrible. Wow, Kiki, that makes me want to just run right out and buy a lifetime supply of it. I told you not to call me Kiki anymore. Sorry, Nikita. Proud Turkish Nikia doesn't need Enrique or American names. I get it. Yo, here comes the concern troll. And here's where you have to scroll some. Like a lot. Hi, everybody. Hi, Zoe. I'm here for my usual Bruno. Zoe, every day you come in here and every day I tell you this isn't Starbucks. You have to get your coffee yourself. God, I only buy stuff here to tip you because I'm concerned about your economic situation. You should be nice. Hey, dude, you're coming to the party at the waterfront tonight? Maybe. What's the meathead quotient going to be? You guys should come too if you're allowed to do that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm definitely not allowed. I'm not going if there's going to be alcohol. Okay. Your headscarf is so pretty, Kiki. I love that color, Nikia. But I mean, nobody pressured you to start wearing it, right? Like your father or somebody. Nobody's going to like honor kill you. I'm just real concerned. So actually, I'm going to stop right there and let you guys start to do your part and start looking through these the reading journal and read to the rest. Remember, you're going to read to page 80. So if you look again, we're already on page 11. It's really a lot of pages in between. So a couple of things I want to point out to you is one, how I always read from left to right. Second is you also read from left to right in the panel. So when you go and you read from left to right in that box too. A couple of different things is one is we already start to see that Kamala is Muslim and so is her friend Kiki, who doesn't like to be Kiki because that's an Americanized nickname for her. But instead, some different things that we should notice is the tendencies for them to practice their Muslim culture. So like not eating pork. So bacon comes from pigs and is pork. And that's something that we start to see. They're not allowed to go to parties, especially where there's alcohol. So that's going to be some different observations that we get to make. So what you're going to do for the weekend is make sure you read to page 80. If you have a hard copy, and if you want one, feel free to come to school or message me first, and then I can meet you with a hard copy. But we're reading to that section 2. This is what it's going to look like at the end. There's a 2 at the bottom. Can't miss it. And you're also going to have your reading journal. Your reading journal is a significant part of your grade for this project. So please, please, please make sure that you do it as you go or you're going to get overwhelmed. So make sure that you have that turned in. You know how to turn it in. Remember at Summit, it's in that top right-hand corner. Turn it in, and we will talk about this reading journal on Monday. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great weekend, and don't forget, like, probably don't even walk away from your laptop. Stay here for office hours. Join me for office hours, and I'll help you, but we got to get through this. I don't even mind to help you read if that's something that you need. So go ahead, check that out. Have a great weekend.